The case that came with this camera left a lot to be desired, so I decided, armed with my laser and some inspiration, I was going to create my own. I began by creating simple cardboard templates. These would serve as a starting point for creating the leather panels for this project. I carefully traced the shape of the camera, making sure to get all the sides. I also decided that I wanted to incorporate space to carry an extra roll of film. After making all my lines, I cut the cardboard template out. Okay, so it just occurred to me when I cut this template out that I actually wanted it to be a wraparound. So it wraps around the camera, so that minimizes the amount of pieces I need to stitch together. And I didn't do that on the template, so grab another box and make the second panel and just glue them together. And essentially I'm just using this for dimensioning anyway, so see if we can fix that oopsie. I traced my first cutout and then cut the second piece out. I began to assemble this prototype around the camera to make sure the pieces fit how I intended them to. And here we have a cardboard mock-up of what I'm gonna laser cut out of leather. So, camera slides in here. Film can go back here. I did realize I'm gonna need to make this flap a little longer to complete the closure. Same with this one. And I think I'm going to remove this cutout and put it on the side so it's easier to grab the camera with one hand and pull it out of there. But all in all, I think this is gonna serve its purpose for getting some measurements. So I'm gonna head over to my computer and turn this into a laser cut file. I grabbed a ruler and a notebook and began to transcribe the dimensions of each part. During this process, I drew a rough sketch of the layout to apply dimensions to. This would make it easier when I hopped over to my computer to start building the cut file. So I'm sitting here working on the laser cut file for this pouch, and I just wanted to show you all the detail that goes into this. So we got all the line work here. We've got holes so that I don't have to punch the snaps in. I can just fit them through the hole and then stamp them together. I'm laser cutting all of the holes for the stitching, so that's one less thing I have to do manually. And then this is all just gonna fold together, and then it'll get stitched and snaps put on. Now that I'm happy with my design on the computer, I can get a sheet of cardboard and cut a draft with the laser so that I can make sure everything fits right. And by using a piece of cardboard, I'm not wasting leather if my dimensions aren't exactly the way I want them. The laser I'm using for this project is the Nova 35 by Thunder Laser. This 100 watt CO₂ laser quickly cuts through this cardboard, which will allow me to get everything dialed in before I have it cut the leather for the final products. Thunder sent this laser over last year, and it's been a game changer in the shop. I've got my template pieces here that just came off the laser out of really thin cardboard, and now I'm just going to fold them up and see how everything fits. So right away after assembling this cardboard mock-up, I'm noticing some changes I need to make. So these side panels need to be slightly wider, maybe 1/8 of an inch on each side, so that I can fold these seams together and the stitching will not pull the entire case together more than I'd like it to. Next thing I noticed is somehow I miscalculated the length of this flap. And it looks like I need to add about 3/4 of an inch to make the buttonholes line up. Other than that though, I think this is gonna work out great. So we're gonna make those changes and then I'm gonna go find us some leather to cut the final parts. So I found this brown leather in my stash, and it has a striking resemblance to the plastic on the camera. So I'm pretty happy about that. I also have this stitching pony that I made recently. This will help me hold the pieces in place as I sew it all together. And I've got my thread and my needle. So let's get these parts cut and get this thing together. My pieces turned out great first try, so far that planning has paid off. So let's get some of these into the stitching pony and start putting this thing together. I'm actually pretty proud of this stitching pony. I cut the wood parts out of walnut and glued them together to get the thickness I needed. And the knob and other plastic parts I designed in Fusion and 3D printed. While it's not always practical, if I have the option to make something over buy it, I usually choose to make it. After what feels like 30 hours of sewing, the pouch is done, at least from a sewing standpoint. I'm mostly happy with how everything turned out. I think I would do this closure flap a little differently next time if I were to do this again. But all in all, it's going to serve its purpose, and I think it looks pretty decent. Next thing I need to do is mark these holes for these closures, put the buttons on them, and I also think I'm going to design insert here for the film so that it doesn't roll around when the camera's not in the pouch. But all in all, I think this is going to work pretty well. I've got all the snaps on, and the only thing left to do for this project is design and 3D print a little insert here for a roll of film. So let's get that done. Now that I have this project wrapped up, I want to say I am no leatherworking expert. I am barely even a beginner, but I thought this would be a fun project to experiment with, see what I can do with the laser in regard to cutting out pieces of leather for a project like this. There are a lot of things I would do different if I did this again, but it's going to serve its purpose. It's going to hold this camera way more elegantly than the case that came with it, and for that, I'm happy with it.